Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to do a progression towards a prop-supported Vṛścikāsana, which is the scorpion pose. We'll be doing Vṛścikāsana on the forearms today, and as I said, we'll be using props to support us. But before we begin, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, like, share and comment so that your actions contribute to the algorithm presenting this content in front of other people who are searching for inspiration for their yoga practice. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Vṛścikāsana can be practiced either on the forearms, from a forearm balance into the back bend, or on the hands from a full arm balance or a handstand. Today we're going to work on the forearms, and clearly it's a back bend. But what we're going to work with first is just awareness in the arms, the shoulders, and the collarbones. So we're going to start with a variation of down face dog pose, moving to the forearm balance preparation where we descend the elbows to the floor, and we're going to use a brick and a belt. Have your brick towards the narrow end of the mat and measure the loop in your belt to be shoulder width. Now, often I'll work with the belt coming right over the thumbnail and then looped firmly underneath the elbow. Rather than bringing it between the thumb and the index finger, bring it right over the thumbnail as you point the thumb up towards the ceiling and have it snugly fitting underneath the elbow. Then when you place your belt just above the elbow creases, your arms, your hands are contained within your shoulder width. That's a great position for the hands for our down face dog pose and correspondingly for our forearm balance prep. The brick is to prevent the hands from slipping in towards each other when we bring the elbows down onto the floor. The hands don't have to start touching the brick. You can have the hands out wider of the brick, but do have your index fingers alongside the outer edge of the brick. Then lift into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. Push your arms and hands into the floor to rebound the torso up away from the floor, and ideally you've got the space to be able to bring the head between the body and the belt. If it's really difficult, try lengthening the rib cage or gliding the rib cage up underneath the shoulder blades. Rather than letting the rib cage sink down and the forehead hitting the belt, when you drive your arms and hands into the floor, the torso can glide up away from the arms and the hands, and then that may enable the head to fit between the belt and the torso. The heels can descend, although that's not really of any consequence at this stage because we're going to lift them up again shortly. When we transition to our forearm balance preparation, and I call it preparation because we're not kicking the legs up yet, we look forward towards the bricks, pressurize the inner hands down, then bend the elbows. And here's where you'll really feel the belt helping to support you, preventing the elbows from going wider than shoulder width. Can you slowly place your elbows down onto the floor and keep looking forward to the brick? Roll the collarbones forward to the brick and walk your feet in. Then walk back and see if you can push into the hands and lift both elbows up off the floor and come back into your dog pose. Now let's come down onto the knees for a moment and have a bit of a rest. I want to talk about the collarbones. The collarbones are here. I think most of us know that, but they're a cylindrical type bone. And that cylinder is what we want to think of when I say roll the collarbones forward. So a cylinder can roll. As we look forward to the brick, once we've placed our elbows down, or even as we're descending the elbows, when we look forward, we want to see if we can roll the collarbones forward. So they'll be rolling from underneath to over the top to help bring the head forward, bring the upper sternum forward. That's going to be really important when it comes to Vṛścikāsana. Let's go again. Adho Mukha Svanasana to Pincha Mayurasana prep. Hands on either sides of the brick. Again, you don't have to be touching the brick just yet. The brick is only there to stop the hands from slipping in and coming together in the midline. Lift into your dog pose. Press away from the floor. Then look to the brick. And as you start to move the head, lift the chin away from the chest, start to bend the elbows and roll the collarbones forward towards the brick. Keep looking at the brick, rolling the collarbones forward, walk in. Keep rolling the collarbones forward towards the brick. Lift the heels, lift the buttocks. Then walk back, push into the hands, come back to your dog pose. Then on the knees, and again, just have a bit of a rest. Let the arms relax. And we'll go one more time. Place the belt just above the elbow creases. It certainly doesn't need to go any higher. Almost as if it's in the elbow crease itself. Then place your hands. Spread the fingers, broaden the palms. Pressurize the inner hands down as you lift the hips up. Be in your dog pose. Look forward now to the brick. Keep pressurizing the inner hands down as you bend the elbows, but as you look forward to the brick, roll the collarbones forward to the brick, slowly descend the elbows, and keep rolling the collarbones forward, looking forward to the brick as you walk the feet in, shoulders stacked vertically top the elbows. As you're walking in, you're trying to get your hips more vertically top the shoulders. And you're still rolling collarbones forward. Then walk back, push into the hands, back to dog pose. Then come onto your knees, remove the belt, and let's just rest here in our variation of child's pose. The big toes touch, knees can be apart, or you can choose to have the knees together. But the arms are forward and the forehead's resting on the forearms. Then as you're ready, come up and we'll take our mat to the wall so that we can practice the full pose, Pincha Mayurasana, the forearm balance. You may be capable of kicking up away from the wall and balancing, which is fine. You can still practice this way, this technique, rolling the collarbones forward. However, I am wanting us to feel the backbend nature of this pose, Pincha Mayurasana. Using the wall can be helpful for that because we can just rely on the wall and get a feeling of moving the torso, moving the sternum. Same idea to what we just were practicing. When we're on our forearms, we want to see, can we roll the collarbones forward towards the brick? So we'll have our brick between our hands. Let's have our belt guiding the position of the elbows. And we'll place the hands on either sides of the brick. You can hold the brick with the inner pad of the thumbs, the inner pad of the index fingers. And start, let's say about your fingers width, your 4 fingers width, have that brick away from the wall. Just an idea of creating that sense of space. As you set your forearms, roll the biceps forward. The inner arms roll forward, inner upper arms. Lift your hips as you're ready. Pressurize the inner hands down and keep the biceps rolling forward, collarbones rolling forward to the brick. When you're ready, you'll exhale, kick up, find the wall with your heels, bring the legs together, and then rather than looking to the middle of the room, can you keep looking towards the floor and then turning the head such that you're looking towards the brick. Now, when you do that, roll the collarbones forward towards the brick and allow the lower ribs to move forward away from the wall. Upper ribs move forward towards the wall, or we could say backward towards the wall. So you're allowing yourself to feel the backbend nature of the pose. Then come down, have a rest. You can either keep the belt on or remove it, but rest the arms. rest the head down. We go again. Make sure your belt is there, just above the elbow crease. Place your hands down on either sides of the brick. Pressurize the knuckles of the index fingers down. Roll the bicep muscles forward. Rolling the bicep muscles forward is easier done with the elbows contained within your shoulder width. So do make sure your belt is holding the arms well. Then look at your brick. Lift the knees off the floor and keep looking at your brick. Roll the collarbones forward as you walk in, and then we'll kick up. Use your exhalation. Kick up, find your way to the wall. Heels to the wall, legs together. Then rather than trying to fit your head there between the belt and the torso, you're looking back towards the wall. As you look back towards, perhaps you can see the brick, roll the collarbones forward towards the brick, and you even slide the heels down the wall a little bit so that you feel like you are arching the back in preparation for Vṛścikāsana. Keep getting the feeling of the collarbones and the upper breastbone. Upper breastbone moves towards the brick as well. Then come down and rest. And when you're ready, come up. When we look forward to the brick that way, it can be very strong. It's a strong neck extension. And neck extension is involved in backbending poses. So we've got to work the musculature there. But a thing that we could practice in the meantime to promote that pliability without necessarily having to contract the muscles is holding our chin with our hands and encouraging the chin to lift away from the chest. But we can do it with the elbows on the floor. So you lift your hips up, bring the elbows onto the floor, forward of the knees, the forearms together, elbows together, the heels of the hands together, cup your chin, and just feel into your neck extension there. At the moment, the hips are high. If your neck feels okay, then you can exaggerate that by sliding the elbows in. Excuse the squeak on my mat there. The elbows slide in as the buttocks move back towards your heels. And you're really encouraging the neck extension that we're going to be looking for in Vṛścikāsana. Then come up and out of the pose. Now, because Vṛścikāsana is a backbending pose, I thought we'd lie back over a chair, do a supported back bend before we move on. I have my yoga chair ready. Now, I say yoga chair because our chairs are specifically made with no backrest here so that we can step the legs through and do a supported back bend. If you don't have a yoga chair, you could put two dining chairs together, and I'll give you a very quick example of that. Here I've got two chairs facing each other, the seats facing each other, the legs are actually touching, and because of these chairs, the way they're set up, the seats themselves are not touching, but you could put a bolster on the seam of the seats, and then you'll be sitting on the bolster and lying back in your back bend, and I'll show you that from the side so you get that perspective. If this is the way that you're working, you'll be sitting on the front end of the bolster, the sacrum on the front end, and then the head coming to the back end of the bolster. You can stretch your arms overhead so that you're bringing opening to the shoulders, and you could also extend the legs and straighten the knees. If this feels challenging, maybe you decrease the height and instead of using a bolster, you use some blankets. You could also have the feet elevated up on some bricks, perhaps. More often than not, when I'm doing supported back bend through the chair, I'll put a blanket over the seat of the chair so that there is some padding on the front edge of the seat where the shoulder blades will be sitting. Then I am wanting us to transition to Urdhva Dhanurasana, the upward bow pose, from our supported back bend. If you're not so confident in Urdhva Dhanurasana, it's difficult for you to get your hands on the floor with the wrists in this position. You may want to set yourself so that your chair is fairly close to the wall. Let's say your wall is here. You'd have your chair close to the wall, and you can have a couple of bricks against the wall and leaning up on the skirting board for you to place your hands for Urdhva Dhanurasana. But when you're ready, step through your chair and come into your supported back bend. We've got the shoulder blades coming onto the front edge of the seat so that when you lie back, you take the head back, you feel the lower edge of the shoulder blades just skimming the front edge of the seat. You might like to explore straightening the legs first before you take your arms overhead. Do make sure you are able to press the thighs down. Roll the inner thighs down, and if it's helpful, you can press the balls of the feet into the wall, or you could even elevate the feet, putting bricks underneath the heels or a bolster underneath your heels if you find that difficult, if you find the lower back complains. Otherwise, when you're ready, you can stretch your arms overhead, bring in some opening to the shoulder joints. If you're quite close to the wall because you're needing the wall and your bricks for Urdhva Dhanurasana, then you'll just be catching the elbows because the wall will be in the way if you're trying to straighten your arms. Either way, eventually, even if you're doing away from the wall, you can end up holding the elbows, so it's a little more restful for the arms, but you're still getting the same kind of opening in the shoulders. Notice the impression of the front of the seat. Make sure your lower shoulder blades are still touching the front of the seat so that the upper chest is opening. And slow your breath down. Quieten your eyes and bring in a softness to your gaze. Now we swap the cross of the forearms. Let's prepare to move into Urdhva Dhanurasana now. You bring the fingertips to the floor, but to do that you may need to slide your body over a little further. So bend the knees, push into the feet to slide the body a little further over the chair, enough that you can bring the heels of the hands to the floor. Now, if that's difficult, that's where using bricks under your hands would be helpful, and the bricks need to be wedged against the wall so they don't slip. Hands are shoulder width. Bring the feet in close enough to the chair that it's going to be easy for you to access the leg strength. Inhale deeply. Then as you exhale, push into the feet, push into the hands to lift yourself up off the seat. Come into Urdhva Dhanurasana. Do your best to straighten the elbows. Lift the tailbone to your knees as you roll the inner knees down. Then bend the elbows and come back onto your seat for a moment and find a place where you can rest, whether that's in your supported back bend or whether you need to slide with the head coming a little more supported onto the seat. We're going to repeat Urdhva Dhanurasana in a moment, but give yourself a moment of rest. Then as you're ready, again come through the chair, just make sure your blanket doesn't slide all the way off. Take yourself over enough that you can bring your hands into position for Urdhva Dhanurasana. Broaden the palms. Walk the feet in. Inhale. Exhale. Push into the feet, push into the hands, lift yourself up away from the chair as high as you possibly can. Breathe smoothly. Go on, lifting the tailbone up to the knees and rolling the inner knees down as the inner feet press down. Then come back down onto the seat, and again, find a position where you know you'll be able to rest for a moment before coming out of the pose. And then we'll come to sit up. Come to sit all the way and find neutral. Rest your hands on your thighs, sit straight. Now, there's another way that we can work with awareness of the collarbones and opening of the chest in preparation for Vṛścikāsana. It still involves using the chair. However, we're going to change the blanket for a sticky mat. If you've only got one sticky mat and you're currently on that, your chair is on that, it may be helpful for you to take your chair off your sticky mat and fold it in 4 so that you can use that. Depends on the thickness of your mat. But of course, if you've got a second sticky mat, let's bring that in. I've got my 4-fold sticky mat. I'm placing that on the seat, and I want to have that running over the front edge of the seat. Then again, I'm going to step through the chair as if I'm going for my Dwi Pada Viparita Dandasana, the supported back bend that we just did. This time, as we lie back, we want to bring the shoulders onto the seat itself. And then the neck can be just draped over the front edge of the seat. Those who are shorter in the legs, you might find it helpful to have your feet up on bricks. So it really gives you the feeling of heightening the hips when you lift up. The hands are holding the handle of the chair, and you walk the feet in. I like to work with the heels lifted for this so I can magnify the height of the hips. You lift the hips up and roll the collarbones over towards the head side as the head rolls over towards the floor. The shoulders are rolling back towards the handles of the chair. And you can walk the feet in enough that you feel like you can really elevate the hips. Get the hips up, perhaps even touching your hands with your hips. But the hands are securing the chair from tipping. So you push the hands into the handle, push the chair back, so all 4 legs of the chair stay on the floor. And then feel into the movement there, the head's going backwards, the collarbones are rolling over towards the head side. And then come down and have a rest. And you might like to just bring the base of the skull on the seat so that you're supported there as you rest. You may want to repeat that pose. However, I'm going to move on. So if you're repeating, give it one more go. Otherwise, you can come to sit up, and let's just pause for a moment. Find neutral. And then as you're ready, step out of the chair and we'll move on to Vṛścikāsana. You'll note I've taken my mat back to the wall. I've got my chair. The chair is going to be right back against the wall so that it doesn't slide. But I want to secure the chair so that if my feet come all the way down onto the seat and they come backwards, that pressure is not going to cause the seat to collapse. Use your belt. If you've got 2 belts, use one of them around the chair. If you've only got 1 belt, I'm going to suggest you use it around the chair for safety's sake. Then you're going to have to do a good job of just containing your elbows without the belt around them. But if you've got 2 belts, you will use your second belt around the elbows. Make your loop quite large. Have the belt on the floor, the loops on the floor in front of the seat, and the buckles facing you. It's closest to you. Then bring the chair legs inside the loop and take the part of the loop that's furthest away from you, up and over the seat. Then pull on that so that you can tighten the belt, and that belt is then holding your seat and it's not going to fold up. The chair's not going to fold up. Put your chair against the wall so that it's got nowhere to slide. The brick is going to be underneath the chair, and the belt, the other belt if you've got one, shoulder width apart, containing the elbows. When we set ourselves up for Vṛścikāsana here, as I said, we're doing a prop-supported Vṛścikāsana so that we don't have to contend with balance while we're trying to attain the pose and while we're trying to manage arching the back and bringing the feet down. The brick underneath the seat is important because in the final pose, we lift the head up and we bring the feet down to contact the head. The head has to lift so that the head's trying to contact the feet. The feet have to descend so that they can contact the head. And if we're eventually, when we're using the chair, we're trying to bring the feet to the front end of the seat. Now, having the belt here is helpful because we can potentially feel the belt with the feet when we're walking the feet towards the front edge of the seat. If we think about the feet here and the head here, then we're lifting the head up to meet the feet. So the head has to be a little bit under the seat as we come into the pose. Set your hands on either sides of the brick. Then when you come to prepare to lift the knees off the floor, have your head under the seat a little bit. Roll the inner hands down, then lift your hips up and walk in. As you walk in, watch that your shoulders don't collapse forward towards the hands. Keep your shoulders vertically top the elbows. Then when you're ready, with a swift exhalation, go up and find the wall and bend your knees. And this might be enough for you. You might find that you can't go any further because already it's quite strong for you. But let's just keep the feet on the wall for now and roll the collarbones forward. Look forward to your brick. Lift the head up as if you want to touch the seat with your head. Keep rolling the collarbones forward, letting the waist move away from the wall. And then let's come down. We'll have a little rest before we try and go further with the legs. The position of the elbows, the position of the shoulders is such that the body is moving over the shoulder joint like this when we're doing our Vṛścikāsana. So if we've got our arms in place, then we want to feel that we're moving the chest this way. That's why I'm saying roll the collarbones forward and letting the body go, the legs go back that way. Let's go again, and we'll see if we can walk the feet down to the handle of the chair and perhaps even then the seat of the chair. Now there's a long distance between the handle and the seat. That's where you could potentially put height on the seat itself. If you've got some shoulder stand cushions or some extra bricks, you could build up that height. Let's see how we go. Place your hands. Bring your head underneath the seat. Lift your knees off the floor and lift the head up. Look towards your brick. Then when you're ready, swift exhalation. Find your way up. Bend the knees. Look towards your brick and let the waist and the pelvis move forward away from the wall as you look towards the brick. Upper sternum, collarbones to the brick. Then walk your feet down. Can you find the handle? Then keep allowing the hips to move away from the wall as you try and find the seat. Now I'm finding I'm too close to the wall. My feet are going to fall back between the gap between the seat and the wall. So at any stage you can come down and rest. I'm going to have a rest before I go again, just readjusting where I've got my arms. When you're ready, get yourself set to go again. There may be some adjustments you need to make in terms of where your arms are relative to the chair. Lift the hips up. Swift exhalation. Find your way up. Take your feet to the handle, if possible. Otherwise, stay on the wall. Now pause with your feet on the handle or on the wall and roll the collarbones forward. Look towards your brick. Let there be an arch in the back. It's a back bend. And move the upper sternum to the brick, but the lower sternum away from the wall. Then see if you can take your feet to the seat. Pause there and keep moving the upper chest forward towards the brick. Then maybe you can walk the feet further towards the front edge of the seat, further towards the head side. Keep lifting the head up. Look towards the brick. Then when you've had enough, walk your feet up the wall and kick away from the wall. Come down, have a rest, remove the belt and rest the head on your forearms. And then you can come to sitting. I'm going to finish the class now. However, I would strongly advise you do some spinal twists and a variation of shoulder stand. And that may be as simple as doing a supported bridge pose so that you're bringing length to the back of the neck because we've done a lot of contraction. I'll give you a very quick visual of what a very simple supported bridge pose can look like. But I do suggest you do some twists first, just to release the spine. Here I've got a blade-shaped brick underneath the pelvis. I'm rolling the shoulders under and allowing for some gentle neck flexion. Clearly, Vṛścikāsana is a very challenging pose, and hopefully I've given you some guidance in terms of some techniques that may help, but also the way to use the wall and the chair to offer support so that we can play with the pose. If you enjoy practicing with me, I invite you to check out the video library on my website. There are over 460 full-length classes in that library, and I add a new class every week. heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. I invite you to subscribe with a 7-day free trial. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.